And some challenging questions where, how can God use me to speak life into somebody else? I think, again, going back to what we were saying earlier, about being, jealous of somebody else's, talents and abilities. I think it's in order for us to encourage each other, like we need to be secure in the purpose and talents that God has for us so that we can encourage others. If we're feeling insecure or feeling like our skills or talents don't have a whole lot of meaning, and we look at somebody else and think, man, I wish I had that talent. It'd be hard to encourage them, right? So it all comes down to our own really self-esteem, and how we see ourselves. Pastor Todd talks a lot about, if when you're secure, it's not who you are, but whose you are. When you understand that you are a child of God and He created you in His image, and He created you exactly how He intended to create you and give you the skills and abilities that you have, then we can be free, right, to encourage others in their gifting, and not feel inferior or like we're just we don't measure up. Um, so some things that stood out with what he said: you stand out if you build up and speak life and not tearing down. Right, it's another thing, it's another way of showing love to each other, right? To just build each other up and encourage each other and speak life into each other, and not tear each other down. And some challenging questions where, how can God use me to speak life into somebody else? And that's, something that, I need to be more in tune with, especially with my family, my young kids, just being able to speak life into them and encourage them and who God made them, and just speaking life over them and their future.